On a wooded lot in Shoreline, Washington, at the very northern edge of Seattle, sits a small church with a big heart for feeding hungry people, St. Dunstan's Episcopal Church.
In Matthew 25, in the parable of the goats and the sheep, Jesus talks about how the way that we love God is by taking care of those in need, taking care of the least of these, to use Jesus' language. At St. Dunstan's in 2012, we finished a minor renovation. It wasn't that big a deal, but it really improved the functionality of our kitchen. And at that point, we realized we had this amazing resource that wasn't being used most of the time. And one of our members, Joseph Hinkoffer, came to me and said, "Hey, can I use this kitchen to feed people? I'd like to make a meal every couple of weeks for Tent City 3. And I said, "Well, I love the idea, but what if instead of you doing it alone, we create a team and see who else wants to do it?"
As a young man, Joseph Hinkoffer trained as a chef in his native Germany. Later, living and working in Seattle, a motorcycle accident left him temporarily unemployed. Without income and hungry, he knocked on the door of a church and asked for food. All they could find was a can of cooked spinach. Joseph ate the spinach, but it tasted horrible.
First of all, I love to cook. Like I said, that's my poetry, my relaxation, and then watching the homeless folks not having a decent meal, and then suddenly I remember the can of spinach, and that was just a natural progression. Our parishioners started donating monies and time and effort, and wanted to volunteer. "Hey, can we join you? Can we join you?" I said, "Fine." And all of a sudden we found ourselves with too many people and not enough to do. Let's do it every Tuesday instead of every other Tuesday. Then from there on, it just expanded. It was like an avalanche, a snowball that was impossible to stop. Well, then more people came. They heard about it. So we decided to morph into a community meal. And that's how the community meal actually evolved from the natural progression.
One of the things that sets our feeding program apart is that from the very beginning, and this was at the heart of Joseph's vision for a feeding ministry, we have always served food buffet style.
The feeding ministry is like a buffet table. There's a salad, there's hot food, there's gravy, there's tasty, wholesome food that you're welcome to pile it on as much as you can. Because if that's what it takes to make you feel human for 2 hours, then I've done my job.
Dan Cushman is currently the head cook of the feeding program at St. Dunstan's.
Dan was living on the streets, living in his vehicle, and he saw this program, and he and his wife came here and started participating. They started helping with the cooking.
And so I came in. It was around 2:00, I think, and it was just busy. And I'm watching about 15 different people do all these different things inside the kitchen. And Joseph is talking back and forth and this, that. And finally he says, "So what have you been doing?" And I told him that I was working down the street for $100 a day. And he says, "Well, we don't pay anyone. This is all volunteer work." And I thought, oh, that's okay. I had to come by and look. And all of a sudden I heard a voice in my head tell me I had at least one day a week to give. And I thought, sure, why not?
And when Joseph's health began to be problematic, Dan stepped up. Dan is here every week. This program wouldn't exist without him.
When we began in 2012, we only delivered food to one tent encampment every other week. Soon, it was every week. Eventually, we were delivering to multiple camps weekly, and starting in the fall of 2014, we added a buffet-style dinner at the church.
Since late November 2014, when we started keeping track, we've provided more than 125,000 meals, over 52,000 in the church, and at least 72,000 to the camps. We currently prepare about 400 meals each week. The cost per meal has risen from $1.97 in 2018 to $2.38. It was slightly more during the pandemic as we were not able to glean as much protein. The feeding ministry is budgeted to break even. Pledges from church members comprise about 40% of the total money raised. The remaining funds are donations from other church members, the community, and fundraising events. From March 2020 to November 2022, during the COVID-19 pandemic, St. Dunstan's continued to feed the community by preparing takeout meals picked up from the church door. Deliveries of food to the camps continued as before.
In 2019, a capital campaign focusing on worship, fellowship, and ministry raised funds to improve our building and kitchen equipment. A dry storage shed gave us space to receive food donations throughout the week, not just on Tuesdays. With completion of a walk-in cooler in early 2022, we could also store perishable foods. A portable warmer and Cambro boxes enable us to keep hotel trays of food hot before delivery to the tent cities. Currently, we deliver to 4 local government-approved tent cities and tiny house villages in Shoreline and Seattle.
On Tuesdays, we glean food from 2 different supermarkets.
A few years back, Food Lifeline became the only way to get gleaned food from supermarkets. And now we have access to far more places where we can get food. It's been a real blessing to us, and they've been very supportive of our program.
Back at St. Dunstan's, many volunteers are busy getting ready for the Tuesday community dinner guests. It takes about 20 volunteers from gleaning to cleanup. Food gleaned from the supermarkets is weighed for reporting to Food Lifeline and sorted. Extra food is put out for guests to take with them. Other gleaned food goes into boxes to be delivered to sanctioned camps along with trays of freshly prepared food. As soon as the gleaned food comes in, volunteers begin cutting up fruits and vegetables for salads, putting desserts onto plates, and setting tables with placemats, silverware, and flowers. Guests trickle in as early as noon. Coffee, water, and lemonade or other juice are available. At about 2 p.m., we put out hot soup and toasted bread. At 5 o'clock,
Welcome to dinner! All right, I'm going to say a quick grace and we'll get started. Loving God, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this food. We thank you for those who donated to make it possible. Bless this food to our bodies and us to your service in Christ's name. Amen. Amen.
Around 5:45, the bell rings again and guests can go through the line with takeout boxes and cups for main dish, salads, or sides to take with them. Any remaining food is packaged and taken by a volunteer to other feeding programs. And then the cleanup begins.
It's really healthy. It's healthy for our community that we're doing what we're doing.
I don't know where God will lead us next, but I do know that we'll keep feeding people, and we'll keep advocating for those who are without shelter, and we'll keep looking at the needs of the people around us and asking, how can the gifts God has given us be put to good use?
Wherever you are in your spiritual journey, however you found your way into this place, whether you are rich or poor, living in a tent or a mansion, whatever the color of your skin, whomever you love, you're welcome in this place, and you're welcome at this table. There is food enough for all. Come and be fed.